Warning: the content you're about to receive is for the sole purpose of exposing fake trainers, doctors, nutritionists, life coaches, and wellness gurus, in addition to educate them and provide you with accurate information.
Come on!
36 years ago, I became a personal trainer. My objective back then, as it is today, was to get my clients in the best shape of their lives. But in order to do that, I had to know everything about the 3 training components that were responsible for changing the body in the most efficient way. Therein lies the problem. You see, most personal trainers are absolutely incoherent about the 3 training components, and they're dead wrong in the way they train their clients. It's a real issue in the industry. So my mission today is to expose fake trainers and to inform consumers, to talk straight and to provide accurate information. What you're about to see in the upcoming video, I'm telling you, will produce profound results. I urge you to check it out. You will not be sorry. You know, 36 years ago, I got into the health and fitness industry. And the main reason that I did was because I found myself in the worst shape of my life. I had been an athlete since I was the age of 9. And then when that day ended in college, I fell apart. I went to hell in a handbasket. So what I ended up doing, I became a personal trainer. As I was going through the process of learning about health and fitness. But when I got my real lesson in the industry was when I actually decided to compete as a bodybuilder. And here's what I found out. I knew that if I wanted to have any chance of competing at the higher levels, national or world level, I knew that I had to be well versed to the nth degree on the components, I call them the training components, that are responsible for changing the body in the most efficient way. And at the same time, I also knew that even leaving one of those components out of the equation, that it would definitely compromise overall benefit. So learning all this, and then being at the stage of the game where I'm at right now, because I went through that process of 15 years of training, competing, and learning about all this, and then what I wanted to do was teach other people the experience of what I learned. And that's where I'm at today. I've got all this knowledge, firsthand experience. I mean, Albert Einstein once said that real knowledge is experience, and what he meant by that is being in the game long enough and becoming a student of the game, that learning it from first-hand experience. Because what you end up finding out when you become a guru, a real one, because there's a lot of fakers out there, when you become a real trainer or a real guru, a master in your arts, you know that there's trends that keep coming back around. I've seen trends come back over and over again. And yet to the average trainer that's out there, especially with the advent of social media, it's ridiculous. You've got people out there that really don't know what they're talking about, and they're giving this information to unsuspecting customers or clients. So my mission now is to continue to share the experience, and my mission now is to expose fake trainers and expose anybody that's in the industry that's fake. It could be fake gurus, diet programs, whatever the case may be. It's time to call these people out and set the story straight. Which brings me to this interview that we're going to have. I'm very excited about having this person on. His name is Tom Muzila. He's a martial artist, a trainer. He's bodyguarded everybody in the celebrity industry. And I'm really excited to have him talk to you about his style and what he can do for you as far as improving your performance. So, Tom, thank you very much for coming to the show.
My pleasure.
Appreciate
Leo.
that. So, Tom, let me ask you this. I mean, I've known you for a long time, and one of the reasons I'm doing a show like this is because, again, I want to expose the fakers that are out there, but I also want to bring people on such as yourself because I know who you are, and your background, and you're legit. You're the real deal. But you actually presented something to me or talked to me about something that I really never thought about in when I was doing my training. And that was the mental side of taking your body to the next step. I mean, I fully understood how to do that, in these components with training, cardio, and nutrition, but you're coming from a different aspect. In fact, you even mentioned, and I think you're right, that this could actually be the fourth component. My whole thing now is saying, okay, there's so many people saying they're great and they've got the next best thing since sliced bread. What makes your training so needed, and for somebody like myself compared to maybe somebody who's not an athlete, maybe somebody who's rehabbing, or somebody who I don't know. I'm assuming this would apply in many different fields. But I don't really know how that would happen, and I'd be really interested, and I know our viewer would, to find out, how you do that.
Okay, what's the main component with us, and our main opponent in karate and martial arts, as you know, in bodybuilding and anything, is ourselves, to face ourselves. That's the breakdown in any profession, any sport, any art, because the more insecurities, the more mental blocks and issues and mental issues we have and insecurities, that's going to be, or fears, that's going to be in our blocks. So same thing in martial arts, the more we can face ourselves, not just some 6'4" guy or 6'6" guy, are in a very tough, strong practice like you would do in working out and bodybuilding, to push yourself beyond limits, not just expand your limit, but beyond limits where your mind is stronger than your body. Right. It's almost like controlling your matter with your mind. That's why in karate we have these special trainings, and once practice you stand in a horse stance like this, like riding a horse, for an hour and a half. And we've had triathlonists, marathon, bodybuilders, incredible shape people, and it's funny, you have some 16, 18-year-old girl that stands and just, boom, the mind doesn't move, solid like a rock. So really facing ourselves, I think, is the main issue.
So let me ask you this now, and this is kind of relating to what you're saying to my sport, because I also, one thing that the sport of bodybuilding does is it's very demanding, it's brutal, and but what it does, if you are that person that's willing to keep taking the next step to adapt to the kind of environment that you're talking about, you develop a mindset. And I can tell you this, and this is where I'm getting with my question, is that the mindset, I'll speak from my own perspective, the mindset is something that is needed to create the physique that we want to create at the end of the day at the world level. But your mindset can actually work against you, because I'm thinking like it's so overpowering that all of a sudden, like with me, I had a situation where, I wasn't paying attention to some of the signs that my body was telling me, and I ended up having adrenal burnout.
Yeah, totally.
Because of that mindset. So how is it that you, with your training, how can you take a guy like me, or just anybody, how can you take that person and, not blow them out? Mm-hmm. And, get them to the point where they know, what are the things, right, that's kind of the steps that you would take? I mean, I'm assuming you don't go from 0 to 100.
Sure.
So what does that look like?
Okay, for example, first you have to get a person to push themselves to face their mental blocks and issues that stop them. And it comes in steps or different components, like you're saying. The most important thing, to push yourself to unlimited capacity, but then you can push yourself way too much, as you have in overtraining and not enough sleep and rest. And so the more important thing is having a balance in life, uh-huh, and rest and recuperation and sleep and diet and all that, massage, whatever. So just because you can push yourself so much, but like you says, our strengths can be our weaknesses. You get too attached to that, too locked in, and so many people burn themselves and burn themselves out mentally, emotionally, and physically, and they can't continue. They have to recuperate.
If you were actually, as a coach, if you were telling me, okay, this is what I want you to do, because I don't know how far I can push myself. I mean, I hear this from people all the time. You know, and this is more regarding training, because they'll say, you know, I never knew that I could do as much as I did.
Yeah.
They don't know that, because this is a part of facing their demons and their crossroads, because they have their own, you know, blocks where they say, I don't think I can do that. And a guy like me and a guy like you, I'm a coach to show them. And if I'm a really good coach, I show them in a way that's seamless.
Yeah.
And it gives them confidence. Okay, so if I'm that person now that, you know, for whatever reason, I'm weak in the mental aspect, how would you tell me then? How would you coach me if we were doing a session? Is it something that you do like with each, like for me, as an athlete, would you have me doing some, I don't know if it's a mantra, but something that I would do before training? Would it be something that I do 3 times a week, 1 time a week before I go to bed at night? I mean, how do you take me that knows nothing about that side of it?
Okay, well, the most important thing, I think, you know, depending on the capacity of the person you're working with or the client, you have to kind of know their capacity, you know.
What does that mean? That's what
Okay,
I mean. What does that mean?
What kind of, you know, if you get somebody off the street, what is their basic fitness level?
Okay.
And mental level to emotional level. Even when I was doing all the bodyguarding, I would really do an extensive interview with my client. You know, some wealthy guy, because say, for example, with a crisis situation, a bullet starts shooting, I want to know what he's going to do.
Right.
He could work against me completely.
Right. Yeah.
So the same thing with, you know, training somebody, and you find out about their level. Everything's where their level is, you know.
Okay.
And whether it's been fitness, if they're very basic, novice, intermediate, advanced and stuff, and you work from that level. And then you start with like baby steps sometimes. With
So what is, that's what I want to know. What's that baby step that you're going to tell me to do?
Okay.
I want that baby step.
Okay, for example, in repetitions or a workout, you know, you have them do just a couple sets, very light, and you integrate into it. Or if it's walking, like some people, you know, like yourself, everything you went through with that stroke and stuff, where you could move. And some people, you know, they couldn't even walk a block.
Yeah.
And then you go a block, and then you go 10 foot farther, or 20 foot, or 50 foot farther.
Okay.
Pretty soon you're doing miles. Pretty
Right.
soon, of months or a year, somebody's running a marathon.
Yeah.
So you have to do it in a very gradual
Okay,
degree.
so does that mean, like, again, we're talking about the mental aspect of that. Would that mean that you would have me, like, say a certain a sentence or a line or a word that I could associate with?
Yeah.
That
So-
could change the way that I'm thinking?
Yeah,
That's what I
exactly.
mean. That's what I'm asking.
You know, I used to do a lot of these, you know, affirmations, right? And you don't say, I will do this, I'm going to do it. It's like, I am. You have to say it like you're in the present. You know, I am in good shape, I am doing this, I do this, I do so many repetitions, I do this weight, I do this every day, and you program your subconscious mind that you are that way.
Yeah.
So it's something you could, and you want to be best like in an alpha state, very cool, calm, you know, 7 to 13 hertz cycles per second, hertz cycles, right? That's kind of alpha range, because then our subconscious mind more easily accepts that. When we're conscious now, like a beta state, our subconscious mind won't accept it.
Yeah.
You have to be very relaxed and calm.
So in your training that you do you actually teach people to get into that state that you're talking about? Did you say it's the alpha state?
Yeah.
Because that's where you learn, right?
Yeah.
Alpha?
And you know, breathing is the connection between our mind and body. So breathing is a connection also between our conscious and subconscious mind. You know, we have a saying in karate, in martial art, if somebody's afraid to do something, if you don't want to get wet, jump in the lake.
Yeah.
Then you have to worry about getting wet. You just do it. You know, like that Nike said, just do it,
Yeah.
anything. So because our anticipation, our mental reluctancy can hold us back a little bit that way.
Yeah.
But that alpha state is very important to get into.
So that would be a part of your training. So you would say, Leo, what I want you to do, and again, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that,
Yeah.
I'm guessing here, but what I want you to do today, before you go to your training, because I want to do a better workout
Yeah.
today, and I just think that my mind's beating me now, okay? So what I want you to do today is I want you to do for 3 minutes, I want you to do this, you know, I mean, again, I want you to get in a place where you feel very calm. Is there something like that you're talking me through to teach me how to get into the alpha state?
Exactly. And the alpha is really breathing. It's just to keep your exhale out of your nose, mouth closed, and hold it back of your throat. And eyes can be open or closed, doesn't matter. So see, when we do a traditional karate practice, we sit and we call it mock soap on our knees, and we meditate a few minutes first. The whole class, the whole group. And what you do is you block everything you're thinking about, worried about, concerned about, and empty your mind and just put in, I'm going to do a really strong workout here. In Japanese, they call it mindfulness. You're mindful, your whole mind's in the moment. And then after a workout, we do another meditation. And okay, you feel great, you worked out hard, accomplished something. And then you think about it and you've got a different mindset, the way you're going to approach your problems, issues in life to keep it very positive. So same type of deal.
Yeah, so it kind of sounds almost like, for us in training, bodybuilding or training, it's like a pre-workout and a post-workout.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
kind of almost, that's just how I would relate that to the things that I do. So you're going to give me a pre-workout thing to do, and then we'd post-workout. That's very interesting. Is there a better time? This is a question that's asked in the exercise business, and it's like, okay, is there a better time to do this? Like in our business, it's like, should I do cardio before first thing in the morning because I'll burn more fat? You know, in other words, is there a prime time to do this, or is it just time? How
usually, sometimes right when we wake up, because it's still kind of drowsy and you're easily to get in that mental state, that alpha state, or right before you go to sleep, or even before a workout, and but you go through a whole visualization of your workout in your mind first, which just take a minute or so.
Yeah.
You see whatever sets, exercise you're doing or cardio, and you see yourself completing it successfully and pushing yourself 100% and getting the benefits like that. And before you even do the workout, you already feel the benefits in your mind.
Yeah.
It's just like when two opponents face each other, whether it's karate, martial art, boxing, or anything, in your mind, you can't be reluctant. If this guy's a famous, one of the best boxers, you can't let that deter you. It's just a piece of meat, another opponent there, and you already beat him in your mind.
Yeah.
And even the samurais, they would do that, and that was a main component. There's been a lot of issues where like two samurai faced each other, and one was going to attack, and then after a couple minutes, he couldn't get in. They didn't even engage. And a guy would come back, bow, okay, you won.
Really?
Without even engaging, because they could sense that self-confidence, that impregnability that the other
like
opponent.
match over.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Already beat him mentally.
You're reminding me of something that I did, and I'm just really becoming more aware of this now that you're saying the things that you are. When I had my strokes, because I was paralyzed.
Yeah.
When I was doing my rehab, and this is a reason why I went to a consultation with a physical therapist.
Yeah.
And after one consultation, I never went back, because my sense was that person, my physical therapist, their goal was to get me functional. My goal was to get back to 100%.
Yeah, right.
And
big difference.
That's a huge difference.
Huge
It's a big
difference.
distinction, because like I tell some of the people that I've worked with now, I said, look, when you're rehabbing, even though you can't move your body, that doesn't change how you're thinking about what you want. And that's the real hard part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of the difference between, I need to see it before I believe it, instead of the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I think that, I know that, because what ended up happening is that, I was very fortunate because I had bodybuilding in my life, because that sport demands, like I said, it's demanding. And how lucky was I to have, now to face my paralysis and have the background that I did with training in cardio and nutrition. I was very lucky that way.
Oh, yeah.
Because, when I go down the road, and because I wanted to find out why only 10% of stroke people, for example, because I think this therapy that you're talking about would be very valuable to them, but I wondered why the hell that only 10% of the people that had strokes made a almost 100% recovery. 90% of the people were living with a lifelong impairment. And so I decided to go on the road, because I need to learn always by firsthand experience, And I went on the road and talked to all these stroke groups and these hospitals where stroke survivors were at. And Tom, they were one of the biggest problems for the people were themselves, because they would get beat. They beat themselves mentally.
Yeah.
Now let's not, the other factors in there were that the information that was out there was fractured. And that's the reason why, like, I have this fitness component that I've developed for that very reason, because it's taken those components that need to be implemented, and and it needs to be done together.
Yeah.
Where, it was like this years ago with training too. You got this information out there. The stroke survivor, the information that they have for those people is very fractured. Doctors are still telling stroke survivors that after about 8 months, the results that you're going to get is done. And I'm telling you that, most people can't even tell now that anything happened to me, but I'm still getting results in some fine motor skills that you don't even notice.
Right.
I notice them.
Yeah.
But that just proved the point that by having the right mindset, I guess this is where I'm going with this thing. I guess I was doing some of that without even really understanding, instinctively, because the sport taught me that. The sport of bodybuilding taught me that I had to go and walk in fire every day to go training. And it didn't matter how I felt.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah.
You walk in fire, leave, shut up, go back and do it again tomorrow.
Your mind doesn't move. Keep that mentality,
And that's why I was fortunate. But so many people out there, and they beat themselves and they get beat. And then the sad thing was, and maybe you have a way to bring people back with the kind of training that you're talking about. But the sad thing was, for me, was that when I talked to these people, I could see the light was out in their eyes.
Yeah.
Done. Mm-hmm. Life gone. It's a weird thing to see.
And what's interesting, what you're saying, most people put a cap on their capacity. They put a peak on it. I only want this. Or they get too attached to what doctors, MDs say to them, you only get 90%, you'll never get this. So they get attached to that and they help create it. We can create anything we believe.
Yeah.
And that's what you said. You believe what you see, or do you see what you believe?
Right.
It could go both ways.
Yeah. And I told as I talked with more and more survivors, I started understanding that there's a common theme as to why they weren't getting better. And it wasn't just that the doctors didn't have the most current information, because they didn't, a lot of them. Right. Okay. But it was, the way the insurance industry works. They jerk people around. That's the part. After a while, you get tired of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And they jerk people around like that. But the other one of the main reasons why they weren't getting better was because of themselves. And I call them out now when I do these talks. I said, look, you might not want to hear this. Yeah. But you're a part of the equation here, and you're part of the reason that you're not getting better.
Exactly.
Because if you're going to put yourself in the hands of somebody and not be responsible, you have to be responsible for your own results. But if you put your hands in somebody else's, your life in somebody else's hand, well, then you got to kind of live with what you get. Mm-hmm. You can't be, and then it was also about, I never saw myself as a victim. Right. Never. Mm-hmm. Never saw myself as a victim.
Always survivor and achieving and accomplishing.
And I just didn't realize how important and what kind of a distinction that was until I saw, you see the actual result of people who have given that up.
Yeah, and
it's a sad thing.
Oh, it is. A problem. Too many people depend on everybody else to mental block. That's why the masses believe a certain way. Very few people break out of that and are explorers, discoverers, and go beyond human capacity. Like, for example, in sports, when what's his name broke the 4-minute mile, nobody could do it. When one person do it, everybody knew, it's physically impossible to do it. And they did it. When nobody could climb Mount Everest for 1953 with Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, Hitler had people. So many countries were trying for years. As soon as they did it, everybody started doing it.
Yeah, case in point.
It took that mental block off. It's physically possible.
So are you saying then that, if you take somebody who's not an athlete, because I think the person who has an athletic background, they're far ahead of the person that doesn't. And I learned that really early on with some people when I was doing personal training. I had a guy that came to me and he wanted me to put him on a program, and I did. And I didn't do a lot of fact finding other than if you have any injuries and that kind of thing. So I trained him, and listen, I always when I put people through the paces, I always take a conservative approach. Right. Because one thing that I do know is if you've never exercised, and that was this guy, it doesn't take much to get you really sore.
No, not at all.
Okay, so I'm very mindful of that, right?
Yeah.
So I trained this guy, and one of the things I always did as a trainer, especially after their first workout, I'd call the next day. Say, hey, how you doing? And this guy says, I went to intensive care or emergency room last night.
Wow.
I'm thinking, what the hell? So why?
Yeah.
He said, I was so sore, I didn't know what it was. Well, that was a wake-up call.
Yeah.
He goes, I didn't know if I was hurt.
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
Because as an athlete, oh hell,
It's not a big deal.
We know that.
I know, it's just part
But
of
that
it.
was telling.
Yeah.
You know that.
It's so relative.
Yeah. So in order to get, you're through that kind of a person who hasn't had any kind of experience like that. Look, I say in the industry, I say there are fake trainers.
Yeah.
Okay. And there are fake clients.
Yeah.
I said they're one and the same, and I'll tell you
Yeah.
why. I tell you why. I said because a fake trainer is not willing to continue to evolve and take the necessary steps because it never ends. I've been doing this for 36 years and I'm still learning.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I want to learn. More importantly, I'm very enthusiastic and hungry for more.
More.
Because you can always learn more.
You always.
Right? Okay, so then I say, and then I make the correlation. I said, then you have a fake client, because people look at me and said, okay, this is a client that comes to you, and in your consultation, because my consultation with the client, I'm sure it's like that with you, is it's a fact-finding mission. I don't let them talk as much. I just say things to get them to talk.
Right, right.
Because people say things in an order in which they want result. I've learned that.
Yeah.
And so amazingly, of course, everybody comes in with fire in their ass, and they want this, and they want that, and they want all these kinds of results, and here we go. Of course, in the beginning of usually any workout, people are fired up, and it's like a honeymoon phase.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
totally.
So the fake client, once they get past that honeymoon phase, they are not willing to continue to take the next step and the next step ongoing to get better. Those two people are one and the same.
Yeah.
Because
totally.
a trainer won't do it, and neither does a client.
And almost like attracted like in a way.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
And that's why I keep saying, I said, look, the real trainer, the real guru out there, such as yourself, they're not only going to tell you what they want you to do, but they're going to tell you the how and the why.
Exactly.
And the ones that are not legit, that's what exposes them.
Exactly.
Because they can't back it up. And that's the reason why, Tom, I am calling everyone out in the industry.
Sure.
Because I can back up what I say.
Exactly.
And if that ruffles somebody's feathers, that's just too damn bad. They can come on this show and tell me what's so great about what they do.
Exactly.
I mean, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
You know, and if somebody's that confident, from your experience too, Leo, when it comes down to it, whatever profession field we go into, you don't want to get the top 10%, top 20%. You want the top 1 or 2%, whether acupuncture, a doctor, whatever, special trainer, this, that. Look at in like a NHL or any kind of professional sport, and some kids trying to get a scholarship, they're not going to take even 5%. They want the 1 or 2 top percent kid that's good, has that commitment, has a professionalism, going to really push himself without any limitations.
Yeah.
So when we get advice, we have to do the same thing.
Right.
We even have, you've heard of this, I know, that 10,000 hour expert role. Where you, expert really, logically speaking, and that's relative too, whatever their professional is, they have to have had 10,000 hours into
Malcolm
it.
Gladwell.
Yeah.
He's the guy that wrote
that's
the book
right.
on that.
And
I read that.
1 hour a day, that's only 365 hours 1 year. So we were 10,000 in 1 hour a day. It's talking like 30 years.
Yeah,
of
it's a long
experience.
time. In fact, I did math on mine. I was curious about that. And as it kind of worked out, I was around the 10 or 12 year mark. That's the kind of time that you have to put in.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what Albert Einstein, my dad used to tell me, he said, son, when I was younger, of course, my dad, when I was that age, he knew nothing.
Yeah.
Like my kids don't think I know
Sure,
anything, although they're learning now.
Of course,
they're 40 or 30, up there. But it was like, you cannot replace that firsthand experience. And the thing that blows me away, and I don't know about you, like if there's people in the industry that are doing what you're doing, but there's the people in the industry right now, Tom, I get all of my information, because I do rants now. I do a morning rant on Facebook and Instagram, and I do a YouTube channel, but I get my information actually from Google News.
Right.
I just go there and I read these articles that these so-called trainers
are talking about.
And astonishingly, celebrity trainers,
Oh.
and I called out Jillian Michaels the other day. No
Sure.
one's off limits to me
Yeah, of
because
course.
I'm not off limits to me.
Yeah.
I called my own gym out.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
did in
You
one of
face
my
yourself, right?
Yeah, I called my gym. I said, in my own gym with my trainers,
Yeah.
I was astonished to find that we could do better.
Better, sure.
And sadly, the people that are out there, are actually doing much worse.
Oh,
That's the
my God.
scary part.
Yeah. Really. And you got people trying to do their best, but still could do better. But then there's some really bad ones. Boy,
Tom,
I know.
I can just read an article, and I can tell you what that person knows by what they're not
Yeah.
saying. I call it boilerplate, copy and paste
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is.
We have a saying too, like you can really tell somebody's level by the level of the question they ask, not the answer, just the question where they're at.
Good point. Here's a question I have for you, because I'm assuming that your methodologies and everything can apply into different areas. Like my wife, for example, she has terrible migraines, and from my perspective, because I study people all the
Yeah.
time, that's part of what I do. Always, I'm
Yeah.
always reading people.
Sure.
And I can tell you that her migraine, even though she has quite a few of them, they're not chronic. And I've always told her, I said, listen, in my opinion, you're doing this to yourself by some of the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
And my example of this is because when you're at home in your routine, she's a type A person
Yeah.
to begin with.
Everything's got to be
Okay, type A.
Yeah.
And it's to the nth, everything's
Yeah.
got to be such.
Yeah.
I've noticed that when we go on a vacation or get away from her normal routine, headaches are pretty much gone.
Yeah.
So I know now she's going to yoga, but is the stuff that you're talking about? Is that like a yoga type of therapy, or is yours? What's the difference between Tom Muzila and his training techniques and methodologies? What's different about that than, let's say, yoga? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know that she's starting to go to yoga now to try to help her relax.
Does it?
Well, yes and no, because it depends on the instructor.
Right.
The other day she came
Exactly,
back
yeah.
and she was like, inflamed.
Yeah.
She had her do a certain
Wow.
move that just fired her up, and she was like in pain.
Oh, wow.
And of course, she just goes down in the rabbit
Yeah,
hole because
exactly.
it progressively gets worse. And I believe she makes it worse because she can't change that circuit in her head that's going around and around.
Yeah, that's it.
So again, what really makes you different, or is it something that it coexists?
Well,
with
I
that?
think, the main component here is there's levels of somebody facing themselves. Sometimes, like we talked about, our strengths can be our weaknesses. There's a anonymous samurai said years ago, it's far greater to eliminate one weakness than it is to add one strength. Too.
That's interesting. Can you say that again? Because I want to think about that for just a moment.
Okay, there's an anonymous samurai, high-level samurai. Some samurais were like Zen monks, so very high level. And then, with a Zen monk, their main component is controlling their mind. We have no classes that teach how to control your mind, how to control your thoughts, right?
Yeah.
So, as samurai said, it's far greater to eliminate one weakness than it is to add one strength. So most people, because their ego, I'm good at this, they want to add strength.
So they keep adding strengths,
but
they
not
don't take
face their weakness,
It's kind of like our laws. They keep adding laws,
Yeah.
and they don't usually take too many
And they get
away.
more complicated.
It's kind of similar, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
And then for thinking, they just found that most average people have, say 60 to 90,000 thoughts a day. Some people have 120,000. And some people, they're thinking all the time. They're taught how to think, but people are not taught how to not think.
Interesting.
To keep no thoughts. No thoughts come up in your mind.
I can tell you what, I've tried that.
Yeah.
That shit's hard to do.
It is. It takes practice.
Because your mind keeps
Yeah.
it.
And as the thought comes up, you got to let it go like a cloud or a bird or something. You have to let it go. Because as soon as the thought comes up, then that takes over your nervous system, your mind, your state, and it implements what your body is for stress or anything.
That's really interesting. That's been kind of my favorite part that you,
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
That, it's a different way of looking at it. Just like when I went to the East Bloc to Bulgaria,
Yeah.
what really stood out from them was that they said, look, we do application first and theory behind the application. And I thought, well, why? And they said, because we don't want any information hamstringing what actually might happen in the gym. So what we do is we go into a gym and we have this equipment, weight training equipment. In this case, being there, it was for Olympic lifting. And they said, what is our objective? Which is really a very good question to ask yourself. I mean, specifically, what am I trying to do? Because that's the question I've been asking myself ever since I got into this, you know? Because I need to know that. And they said, first we identify that. Okay, in their case, it was about developing the strongest men in the world. That was their mission. Okay? So we have all these tools in this gym. So how do we do that? Okay? Okay, when you think about that, because they said, with that strategy, what happens is it forces you to think outside the box. You're not reading anything ahead of time that says, in theory, this should work. You should do 1 rep or in 100, whatever the case may be. I found that to be so fascinating.
It is, boy.
Because it opens up everything.
The
whole, it's just a different way of thinking, just like taking away one weakness before you add a strength. Oh, damn, do I like that. I like that a lot. I'm getting kind of funny feelings right now.
You know.
Seriously.
I know, it's great.
Okay, so let me ask you this then, because, you know, I also know about human nature. We all are kind of like in denial a lot of times. You know, I don't have a weakness. So how do you get somebody to own up to? I know maybe it's a part of facing their insecurities. But how do you get somebody to that point and say, listen, here's what you have to do. I'm telling you as your coach. Here's what you have to do. Let's find that weakness. You know, how do you get somebody to say,
For
you
example,
know what? Start crying. You're right.
For example, in karate practice, you know, we have 3 components: basics, the kata as a form, and kumite, you face opponents. So in a basic, you push so hard, and everyone's got to be like the hardest one you can. Not tensing hard, but your spirit, your breathing, your energy, and everything. You have put your all into that. And that's when, you know, or in the katas, you keep pushing yourself, doing this kata, the next one. Then when you face an opponent, you know, there's a level, like you face them, and usually beginners go look and try to look real tough, you know, really intense. But higher level senior people just go, they don't think. There's no mind. So,
reaction.
Yeah, when I'm here facing you this way, most people think, okay, I'm going to attack right now, and then they attack. But that's telegraphing. Even mentally, telepathically, intuitively, you're telepathing.
Kind of like those samurais. Right?
So you have your mind blank. When I attack somebody, my mind's totally blank, hypnotic, where I don't even know I'm going to attack. And then your
scary.
Subconscious mind.
Am I like in danger right now?
I
can't tell.
So when I attack, it's a surprise to me. And boom, attack. Oh, I attacked. But you don't think I'm going to attack right now. So it's clear in your mind. You feel your opponent. You feel your strengths, their weaknesses. You know, like eyes are the lamps of the soul. So really look deep, not the surface level. You look deep in opponents, and you can feel their strengths, their weaknesses, insecurities, fears, everything. And you let your subconscious mind, from all your training, take over when to attack intuitively. You know?
So this is really interesting, because here's the similarity to the Bulgarians. The Bulgarians were really fascinating. At that time when I was there in the late 80s, they were a very small country. They still are. And of course, the #1 dog on the block in terms of Olympic lifting was Russia. They dominated the Olympic world. Well, in 9 years, because the Bulgarians using this technique, or this way of doing application first, this was one of their secrets. In 9 years, they took over. In a small country, they took over
Russia.
They took over Russia.
And they beat Alexia too, right?
They were the #1, and everybody in Russia, I mean, they were freaking out, to the point that it was so competitive over there, because it was like a shame if you weren't like #1.
Oh
yeah, I mean, that was their way to not only brag to the rest of the world on that side, but also to our side. You know? But the other thing that they did, and one of their secrets that which is what you're explaining, is they believed in repetition being the mother of skill. So what you're telling me is, from all the training that you did, repetition, it became second nature, that you didn't have to think about it anymore. Okay, well, this is what the Bulgarians did, to the point, and I was there. I went to Bulgaria 2 different times, and I actually was in the Olympic Center.
Yeah,
so
wow.
I saw them. They were as close from me to the camera over here. They were that close to me. I was watching them train and everything that they did. Their philosophy was, again, being very specific to the goal. Okay, in Olympic lifting, it's about lifting as much weight for 1 rep.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? So here's what they did. They would train 5 times a day, very short periods of time, 20 minutes, okay, and they'd rest for an hour.
So they wouldn't burn up their testosterone and all this, right?
20, so they would break that up into 5 times a day. And here's how specific they were. They would do, every day that they trained, they would do 50 to 65 1-rep maxes every single day.
Wow.
All they were doing, Tom, is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was that repetition. So here's what happened, and I saw this in play. These other countries, I went to an event where it had 18 countries there. I was in Bulgaria at the time, and all the countries are there. So these guys, these athletes, would go up to the bar. The bar's just waiting for them to walk up to it.
Yeah.
And so many of them would have these rants or mantras, and they'd be yelling at the bar, and they'd spend about 2 minutes, trying to psych themselves up.
Yeah.
The Bulgarians would simply walk up to the bar and lift it.
Yeah.
They would walk up to the bar, grab the bar, lift it.
And just do it.
Their competitions were the easiest part of their training.
Yeah, exactly.
They trained their body what they wanted it to specifically
and just
do.
what you're saying, Leo, in a karate, a martial artist, you train so hard and push yourself so hard and face yourself so hard. When you're in a real fight, it's like a piece of cake.
It's the easy part.
That's the easy part. Yeah.
And that's exactly.
And that's the experience. Like a lot of our black belts that have got, occasionally got in a fight or something. I hear them say, "Oh my God, I couldn't believe I was over so fast. I didn't even know what I did. I don't remember what I did." But
it's in the it's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's reaction.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. And here's another. My son played professional baseball, Major League Baseball. Yeah. And so I got to know because I'm a coach, I'm a trainer. So I got to know these coaches because I wanted to know exactly, coaching baseball, these guys, I want to know exactly what you expect from that kid at the position he's going to play.
Yeah.
Because I can train him for that.
And for that specific thing.
Not only the sport, but to the actual position of his sport, because there were a list of priorities listed in what's most important to what's least important, right? And here's what I learned. This guy, an old scout, been around a long time. I appreciate guys like that now.
Yeah.
Because that's where I'm at.
Sure.
I'm an old scout.
Yeah, right.
And he said, I was sitting with him, he said, Leo, he goes, when you see a guy that's really a seasoned and a great player, when he's in that batter's box, even though he's in that box and there's a ball that's going to be coming about 90 miles per hour, he's asleep in the batter's box.
Yeah.
He's asleep in the batter's box.
Yeah.
He doesn't know or care where his, he's done so many repetitions of this.
Yeah.
Where the inexperienced guy is like he's worried about where his hands are, where his feet are.
Yeah, anxious,
and all that
anxiety.
stuff slows him down.
Totally.
But that was fascinating. He goes, they go to sleep.
Exactly.
And I started watching them, and it's sure enough, they'd just be really relaxed and calm. And then all of a sudden that ball would come, and all the quickness was there.
Yeah. It just
muscle memory.
Because training.
Damn.
For example, I was in Special Forces Green Berets for years and stuff, and if you take a top SEAL Team 6 guy, a commander, and Special Forces stuff, the difference in these type of really elite soldiers, they've done it so many times, they've had bullets fired around them, and they don't, most people, when bullets start shooting, like the thing in Vegas or anywhere, they just freak out.
Yeah.
But these guys so seasoned, so used to it, bullets are going by and maybe missing their head by 2 inches, hitting a wall. And even really good SWAT team, police officers, the same, anybody, But what happens, they don't let their mind go to bullet. It's like that old acronym, FEAR. It's false evidence appearing real. Yeah, it's a real bullet, but it hasn't hit you yet.
Right.
And it missed you just because it hit right here. They don't freak out. These commanders are so calm, so cool. Sure, so a lot of them end up getting PTSD, but the ones that have the right mentality, they don't get PTSD.
Yeah.
Because they don't file that as a vicious terrorist thing in their mind. It's just a job.
That's amazing.
It's just about, and they just move. For example, like even say anybody, any or athlete, like Kobe Bryant. how many baskets he's made. When he misses, you think he says, "Oh shit, God damn, I missed." No,
Yeah.
If he misses, he still made it in his mind.
Right.
It's not a flaw.
And that's not an easy thing to do.
No.
That is not an easy thing
Even
to
in
do.
similar to what you're doing in bodybuilding too, like even Kyudo, bow and arrow. Japanese.
Yeah.
It's like an art. They'll go to the form. Just take 10 minutes to shoot one arrow. They don't care about hitting a target. I saw this last great archer. His name was Ozawa. He's like 80 some years old, and in Japan. And he did a demonstration for us and my teacher, Oshima Sensei. And he had the flu. And he shot 40 meters in a yellow spot like this. He shot just on the edge, 3-4 arrows. Took like an hour for 4 arrows, because it isn't the target. It's your form, the connection, your structure you create to hit the bullseye in the mental state. And then he was off right on the edge of bull. He goes, "Excuse me, I apologize to you. Please forgive me. I'm sick today. I had a flu." Because he was like a quarter-inch off.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But same mentality.
That reminds me, again, you're bringing back some old stuff, some memories that in Bulgaria.
Yeah.
One of the things that their coaches would have their athletes do is they would take them in a room that was pitch black.
Mm-hmm.
And they would make them go through the actual move of the exercise.
Perfect.
And they would do it in slow
Yeah,
motion.
they're so ahead of their time. Boy.
They were, man.
Incredible.
This is like, you think that, back in this country was 50 years behind our technology in so many ways.
Yeah.
Couldn't even make a damn phone call over there.
I know.
It'd take an hour to connect.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yet they had, because they thought outside the box.
Exactly.
But they would put them in a certain, and I started understanding why they did that, because all that then turns in.
Yeah.
And you start becoming aware of head to toe.
For example, one simple element, like you're saying, they would just go lift a bar.
Yeah.
Most people think, "Oh, that's 150 pounds." They start programming, say, "This is hard, this is easy." And they file that. If this is hard, they're going to make it hard.
Yeah.
But they go over there and they don't think any thoughts and bam, do it. They've done it so many times. Another example I've heard, like sometimes some young kids, 4 or 5 years old, will, like a dresser drawer knob. The adult goes and has to get pliers, but they go over, they don't know it's tight. And they have that subconscious internal strength and just boom.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and just do it. It's different than like a woman picked up a car, adrenaline.
Yeah.
It's just no mental block, and they just do it.
That's unbelievable.
I know.
They were just so far ahead of their time when
God,
it came.
it sounds like they had some kind of Zen influence.
Yeah, because here's what they said. They said, listen, they said things like this, which is just astonishing because of where I came from.
Yeah.
They said, warming up is a waste of energy.
Yeah.
And I thought, what the hell?
Yeah.
I mean, so they said, you teach your body what you want it to do with your mind.
Yeah.
You teach it that. If you teach the physiology that it needs to warm up, then it needs to warm up.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing.
Okay? So
Totally.
similar.
So
right?
what, in a real fight, you can't say, "Oh, wait a minute,
Right.
start warming up and stretch it."
Right.
Same thing.
We do a kata.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, that's fine. But I have to learn stuff myself.
Yeah. Right.
When I came back from that trip, now they said, look, now mind you, because your body is so, it's always trying to adapt to its environment. That's your autonomic nervous system, the fight or flight.
Right,
that's
right.
in play. They understood that.
Yeah.
So they said, don't go back home now. And you've been training, because what we would do is we do like a couple sets that were warm-up sets, and then we get into what we call the working set.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
We taught it to warm up, and then we got into it.
Yeah.
So they said, don't go back home and all of a sudden just lift heavy
back,
from set number 1. Because they said you can actually take your first set and make that your first set and not warm up to that
exactly.
set.
You got extra energy, extra intensity
Right.
to make that work.
So they said just go back and now slowly force your body to adapt to, like if you're doing, 2 sets of 20, go 2 sets of 10. And just keep breaking it down like that.
And then it'll
Tom,
adapt,
I tell you what, it was stuff that they taught me that I learned over there in the 80s is still relevant to this day. They were so far ahead.
Oh my God.
Because I could walk in, just like that Bulgarian did in his meet, I could put on 405, which for a bench press is pretty heavy.
Yeah.
My first set and go. I was ready. I taught myself to be ready to go now.
Yeah. That's
so
it.
fascinating.
Same thing.
You know,
Good stuff.
it's like I tell these people that have these strokes. I said, look, you have to understand something.
Mm-hmm.
When I say there's rehab everywhere, look, you coming into the facility with me and working out 3 days a week is not enough.
No.
And here's the good news: rehab is everywhere. Turning that knob.
Yeah, anything.
Grabbing
everything
that drape.
You do. Everything you
Because
do.
repetition is the mother of skill.
Exactly.
That's one of the reasons why I got better, because to this day, I still look for things to rehab to make myself better.
Oh, yeah.
It never ends.
No, it doesn't. You know, a good example, like when I was training, I was a first degree black belt in 1970 when I went into service. And, you know, I was so busy training, I got these contemporaries that were coming up with me. But then I related with my shooting, everything, all training, I'm doing karate. I'm doing karate, mind-body connection, and all the military stuff, training. And then when I was worried about this, first I thought, oh, this guy's probably much better because I haven't been able to train with all my contemporaries, you know, black belts, and just in the military. I trained in karate 3-4 times in 6 months. So I go back, I'm passed, I end up facing these guys, and I was just as good, if not better, because I did it mentally. Everything I did was karate, connection, body, shooting, everything.
Yeah.
You know? Same thing.
And here's the thing that, actually, I would never wish a stroke on anybody.
Oh, yeah.
But that stroke taught me so much about my physiology, because I tell you what, as a bodybuilder, one of the things that we just believed with blind faith was they said, feel the muscle train, feel the muscle work throughout that whole range of motion.
Yeah.
Because, most people, especially novice, even intermediate people, 40% of what they do is kind of wasted movement. Compared to when you really get this thing down, you're actually feeling that movement right from the first rep. You know, so my body's paralyzed. Okay, so I just decided. I said I'm going to use the techniques that they taught me. So I'd have my wife go in and to the living room, and we sit on a bench. I couldn't move my arm, and I said, look, just grab my arm, and I want you to do a curl with me. And all I did was watch her do that. Now, the way that the physiology works, because it has a natural rhythm, because it's always adapting, if you do something for 3 weeks in a row, it starts adapting. If it's a healthy physiology, the 21 day, it starts adapting. So I said, I'm going to test this out now. And every day she would come in and we'd do 10 reps. And I wasn't able to move it. All of a sudden, at about the 2 week mark, the strangest thing, and you probably won't believe it unless you actually had one of these things, but all of a sudden it was like, when she started moving my arm, it was as if I had this energy that started traveling down. My mind was watching this, and all of a sudden I had this energy. I could feel like an energy, but I still couldn't move my arm. No kidding. Around 21 days, it might have been, give or take, I woke up to go do my, the training, and we went in. I knew without a doubt that I could move my arm, and I did. That was the day that I knew I was going to recover. Because I actually made a move. I did this.
And you felt that.
But it was like this delayed energy. My mind kept like pushing this through, and all of a sudden it connected to this.
You know what we'd say, like in more esoteric terms, like Chinese, they believe we have these 7 chakras, energy centers. And we have internal energy that, in Japanese call it ki, Chinese chi, and Sanskrit prana. So that energy, that chi starts to flow first before neurologically and your muscles. The energy starts to flow. So that's what I would say. You started to focus that way, and that stimulates your nervous system, your muscles to contract and start working. Because even when we get sick, or something, the Chinese believe, because acupuncture, and they've been doing this for 5,000-6,000 years, it starts in our magnetic field first, our aura energy field, and then it manifests in our physical organs or anything, unless you just break your arm or something like that. So to heal that, almost you have to heal your magnetic field first, or balance it out first, or get rid of any blocks in your magnetic field, your energy field, which we feel we have like 12 major meridians. And if they're not flowing very balanced, because sometimes they can make our organs very hypoactive or hyperactive, and that throws the balance off. So the Chinese doctor would get more of the balance that way, And then that would start to heal. Then your physical parts start to heal.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I tell you, I learned, and what it did, these strokes that I had actually made me a better trainer.
Oh yeah.
Because I understood people in a whole different way, and I thought I understood them pretty well beforehand.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
because this happened like 6.5 years ago, and it made me so much better at what I do because I can really understand somebody, and to the point that, you know, I know sometimes that in order for them to really get better, they have to hear something that they don't want to hear sometimes.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Because it's part of like it's almost like taking that person and shaking them.
Yeah.
Shake
Waking
yourself,
them up.
damn
Yeah.
it.
Wake up, you know.
Because I already know that you're not doing the homework,
Yeah,
the things that we want you to
exactly.
do at home. Mm-hmm. And it's like I did this rant the other day. I have this morning rant, I call it.
Yeah.
And I called out these quick fix diets. You know, Jenny Craig, Nutrisystems, Weight Watchers. And I said, those diets are designed to fail. Mm-hmm. And I can prove it to you through stats because 8 months after people start the quick fix diets, most of them are in worse shape than they were before they started. Mm-hmm. There's your stat.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm telling you, I'm your guru, I'm your trainer.
Yeah.
If I'm telling you that I want you to eliminate a damn weakness out of your body, or if I'm telling you as your trainer that, okay, I have this really cool diet program I want to put you on, and I can tell you this because I'm going to be truthful with you. It's going to fail in about 8 months.
Yeah.
And the scary thing is there's people that are going to do it.
Yeah.
And I said, if you're one of those people, you're insane.
Yeah.
And you need to bang your head up against the wall to find and see if some common sense comes out. But this is what people do to themselves all the time.
All
so
the
I'm
time.
telling them, I said, look, as a stroke person who's trying to overcome this, and it could be that, it could be you trying to take your body to the next level.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're not willing to take those steps and be disciplined about that,
Right.
you know, then how can you, I mean, you're never going to get to that point.
Right.
And yet those very same people are the ones that say, you know what? I tried it, it didn't work.
Yeah.
They I don't know what, you know, that's that denial thing
Yeah.
again. Okay, so with that being said again, Tom, I'm going to go back to that because I really love that, taking that weakness away. Damn. So how, like, if you're telling me, does it matter, like, any weakness, or how would you determine as somebody's coach? You're trying to get in people's heads all the time to make them perform better.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you know? First of all, how do you get them to just come to grips with that they do have weakness? And does it matter what kind of weakness you take away, or is it more important to take any weakness away and show them how doing that made them successful?
And any weakness, because one weakness can tie in and network over to another one. They can support each other.
Yeah.
I've heard before, like in our snaps of the brain, there's this one thing, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it, etosis or so. So if we start thinking very negative about something, it's a chain reaction of firing nervous and negative in there and get depressed and then go down here. Yeah. But then if we keep that positive state, that positive energy, it is like wildfire. It connects to it and we get more motivated.
So you have a different reaction, chemical reaction in your brain?
And then you can tell by talking to somebody, and sometimes the worst thing, people get in their own way.
Yeah.
For opportunities, for themselves, for anything. They get too logical, they get too programmed the way they've done things before, or even they can be very loving and compassionate and not want to bother another person when they should bother a person, when it's that time, you know? Yeah. So they got to get out of their own way and not think compartmentalized that way, and no mental blocks and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But then, you know, you go to somebody's level like, God, 1% of the top 1%, like samurais and some incredible athletes, what they've done. I mean, we talk about climbing Everest. There was like one Sherpa I heard, I forgot his name, but he's been on top of Mount Everest 10 times. And I heard he was like an alcoholic too.
Really?
Maybe that aided him, staying in that alpha state all the time.
Yeah, I didn't think about it too much.
But no mental blocks, you know, and of course adapt physically, this and that. If you talk back, the last of the greatest samurai was this guy named Tesshu Yamoka, 1853. They had this training. It would take 3 years to go to this training, to do this. They had like a 2-day special training. That special training, they'd wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning with a wooden bokin. They get 10, 15 seniors. And for 2 minutes, with no protective equipment. One guy, he'd go rest, the senior, and rest. 2 minutes. 12 hours straight. Of course, he's drinking water and stuff, but 12 hours. That's sick. Then he sleep, get up the next day. So they had a 3-day one like that. They had a 5-day one and a 7-day one. The 3-day one, I think 25, 30 people went through, monks. The 5-day one, I think there was only like 5. The 7-day one, only 2 people completed 7 days.
Yeah.
After 12 hours a day, facing these guys. So Tetsuya Yamaoka comes, but the way he trained was beyond all limits, beyond like really mind over matter. He trained, he goes 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. He goes 10 days. And not because he passed out and he couldn't continue. He made all the seniors pass out.
Yeah.
They continue. And
Yeah.
the rest of the whole time.
Yeah.
And I remember reading a dialogue between him and a guy that did the 7-day one. And the guy's going a 7-day one to Tetsuya Yamaoka. Goes, God, Tetsuya, how did you do that? He goes, I felt like I was run over by 100 horses. I was bleeding all over. I was urinating blood. I was just, thought I was going to die. He goes, you had the wrong mentality. You weren't strong enough. You didn't tap into the universe and chi and your real, true internal power.
Yeah.
You fought against it. You
Yeah.
kept it on a physical level.
Yeah, and the thing is, look, at the end of the day, you can be the best guru and the best trainer because
Yeah.
and you can't. There's certain people you just can't reach.
Yeah.
But my thought, and this is getting kind of back down and kind of wrapping this up.
Yeah.
Was my thought is this: I think that when you're a really great trainer, a great teacher, as such as yourself, you take that person that might be average, and he may not or she may not go to the pinnacle,
Right.
but through your techniques, you've actually taken them further than they would have ever done
Anything. No
unless they
limit.
had the information that you gave to them.
Right.
And I think that's what, ideally we would think that we could fix anybody and make everybody a superstar, but that's just not reality, but that's okay. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you can't, reach your fullest potential. I think there's something to be said for that.
And another thing really tied in, a main component what you're saying about fake trainers, fake diets, fake. Most of those people train people to get them to depend on them, so they can still pay, right?
Yeah.
They train sheeps. You and I and stuff, real authentic people, we're trying to train lions to be independent and strong and be an example to all society.
And you know something, and based on what you're saying about the money, listen, I have no issue with making money. I think
Yeah.
it's a great thing, but not at to the point where you're compromising that person's benefit.
Yeah.
Because in this case, those are fake trainers that are
Totally,
doing that, and they're disingenuous. It's like I told in my last rant. I said, look, I'm not going to call out the person just yet, but she's a very high prolific person in the industry.
Yeah.
She has stake in the company.
Yeah.
And she's advocating for this quick fix diet that is going to fail most of the time. And I think that's dishonest.
Totally, but it'll pack her wallet and purse.
And so you got to be really careful about.
Yeah.
I guess the moral of the story is you got to be really careful about who you end up picking, and that's the reason why I think that this is exactly at this stage of the game in my life. This is exactly where I need to be because I want to clean all that crap out, and I want to listen. I'm saying I'm exposing fake trainers, but at the same time, I actually would want them to come and learn from me.
Yeah.
I write blogs.
Sure.
They can certainly learn from me.
Yeah,
But
network
so not
over.
only do I want to expose them, I like to teach them. But I also been in the game long enough to know about egos. Egos
Yeah.
get in the way of a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh,
But it's
huge.
still, I'm a purist in the sport. I want people, like every person that comes into my facility from the day I started personal training, it was the most important thing for my client to know was I was in it with them. And I wanted them to go all the way.
Right.
They had to know that. And it was for that reason. And yeah, I made good money at that.
Yeah.
But the first thing that came was I wanted to make sure that you got a great workout
Yeah.
every single time.
Exactly.
And again, I think that's what really makes the difference. And of course, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to keep on talking
Right.
about this stuff. And I think it's important that we do this in a way that we don't come off as I'm just this mouthpiece
Yeah.
in the industry, just make a noise for the sake of it. And again, I just think, look, if I tell you something, I'm going to tell you why.
Right.
I'm going to tell you why that diet's going to fail you. I'm not making that shit up.
Exactly.
That's a stat.
And it's realistic.
You know, and it might be hard for you to hear, but that's too bad. I'll take that arrow to make sure that I get there. I feel better about that.
Exactly.
And I think that's, in my spot, that's a gold standard.
Totally.
And my friend, I think you're gold standard, and I appreciate
my pleasure.
you coming
Honor
on
to be
this
here.
show.
It's like we talked about before. Intelligence doesn't necessarily mean there's wisdom. You know?
Yeah. No, it's true, man.
And you know, with every sport, you're a bodybuilder, any sport, there's three ways. Like in karate, you can practice as a sport, you can practice as an art, what's effective, realistic, same with bottoming, or you can practice it as a philosophy.
Yeah.
And I know what we're trying to do is make this a philosophy so it'll help all aspects of life.
I live this day in and day out. I live my life just like, you know, it's my passion. My work is my fun.
Exactly.
You know, it's all one. There's no separation there. I work all the time, but I don't see it as work.
I know.
You know, and I know you're like that too. We're looking for more of your type of people out there. I'm looking forward to having you come back, and you know, we want to do a series of these because obviously it's not just one show and one and done. It's ongoing.
Definitely.
You know?
Just like life is ongoing.
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 Hopefully.
Yeah.
Anyway, until another time, my friend.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah,
It's
thanks
an honor,
for being
pleasure.
here. I really do appreciate that.
No, thank you, Leo.
If you want more information about this, click on that link below and go to my website. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below.